Good morning, Sabal here, and Dr. Amala, thank you. Minister, a real pleasure to be with you again. And let me congratulate you and the government on putting SMEs at the absolute heart of the economic recovery programs that are now underway. I think the new setup whereby you and your team have an eye on all aspects of SME policy reform and development is exactly the way to go, and that has been shown, I think, in many other places, and we wish you well with your new 10 million client base, I think it probably is. And it's good to see so many others here today, practitioners in the area, to discuss this next stage and very important work done by the OECD and the European Training Foundation. It's good that this assessment, which of course has been largely financed by the European Commission, is coming now at a time when Egypt is proactively developing a national strategy for SMEs and is taking action on important reforms that are beginning to change the investment climate. And I think these discussions can certainly contribute and provide inputs to the reform agenda that you have underway. It goes without saying that investing in SME growth is of the utmost importance for both economic and social development worldwide, and no difference here in Egypt. The sector has the highest potential for job creation. It can act as a driver of innovation, and it can be an engine of competitiveness. Just a few words perhaps on the experience in the European Union, where SMEs also account for a very large share, over 95% of all enterprises in the EU, and are very much at the foundation of the structures of all of our economies. They're the leading job creators in the EU as well. They provide 2 out of 3 private sector jobs. And in fact, it is the loss of millions of those jobs due to the financial crisis over recent years, which has been perhaps the major challenge that we've had to face in Europe in trying to get our economies back up to speed. Now, to support SMEs and to improve their business environment, the European Commission launched in 2008 the Small Business Act for Europe, and you're going to be hearing a bit more about that later on, I think, in the presentations that come. There are perhaps parts of that which might be relevant to Egypt's challenges and opportunities, and I think that will be part of the discussions we will have. The policy of the SBA is trying to achieve the best possible framework for SME development in terms of the legislative agenda, and it's been doing quite a bit of work in that regard around Europe over the last few years. The guiding principle of it is to create a level playing field for SMEs, and as I said, to improve the legal framework. I think that is also very much the case, if I may say so, Minister, here in Egypt and indeed the region, the whole Mediterranean region. And the cooperation that we have between us, Europe and the Mediterranean, allows us to share some of the experiences, and that is the part of the object of what we are going to do today. I don't need to remind you here how important SMEs are in Egypt, but I have the figures that I have, and I'm sure the Minister has better ones. They tell me that 75% of the total employment of the country and around 99% of non-agricultural private sector establishments are considered to be small and medium enterprises. Whatever the figure, it is vast. It is huge. And there can be no real economic development here without developing SMEs. I think everybody has understood that. And so these discussions, I think, are extremely important as we take it forward today. The European Union will continue to stand by our Egyptian partners in supporting that domestic reform agenda, which I mentioned earlier, and across our cooperation and assistance portfolio, we do a number of things which impact not only on SMEs, but many others as well. So, for example, when it comes to infrastructure investments, it's important to remember our National Investment Facility has leveraged substantial resources over the last couple of years One very well-known example being the Metro Line 3, where 900 million euros has been invested, together with European Union grants. The works are underway, not necessarily helping with the traffic, but of course in the longer term I think they will make a big difference to transportation and efficiency of this great city. And we're also of course doing a great deal in the field of socio-economic development. Just this month we have signed new programs for school feeding, for employment, for development in informal areas of cities, in slum areas, and we also have new agricultural programs which we will shortly be announcing. All of these programs also include an aspect of SME development. You can't touch anything in the economy in Egypt without getting involved in SMEs in some shape or form. And finally, Minister, I would like to mention something which I know you and your team have worked hard on, which is the question of vocational training. The Tibet 2 program is about to start. This is extremely important for everyone, again, not least for SMEs in terms of upgrading skills. And we learned a lot of lessons, I think, in Tibet 1. Under Tibet 2, I'm sure we're going to have more effective implementation. We're looking forward to getting on with that. So let me just conclude very briefly, Minister, with a statement or a quotation from somebody who knows much, much more about business than I will ever know, or many others. I'm speaking about Peter Drucker. There are many, many plans out there, including the ones that we're going to be talking about today. Drucker said it's only when those plans degenerate into hard work that they make a difference. So let's make a difference. Thank you so much, Minister. Thank you all. Have a good day. Thank you.
And the stakeholders here present today. Let me express my thanks and gratitude for a huge effort put to assess the SME policies and programs in Egypt and to issue the report that is released today. Allow me also to confirm and reiterate that the growth of SMEs is a priority of our government policies. We will make all the necessary efforts to foster their growth, as we strongly believe that it is a sine qua non condition to bring about social justice and economic development in our country. Let me remind you, like Ambassador Mouran just said, that SMEs represent more than 90% of the industrial sector in Egypt and provide for more than 75% of all job opportunities in our country. Back in June, the Ministry of Industry and Trade was entrusted with the responsibility of coordinating between the main SME supporting institutions and with the development of a national SME strategy. To this end, the ministry brought together and held meetings with international donors, the Social Development Fund, commercial banks, microfinance institutions, the Industrial Modernization Center, and the Industrial Training Center. The first step of those meetings resulted in agreement on a common definition for micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, a prerequisite to establish a reliable database and have a common vision to address the problems of each and every category. In addition, the role and responsibilities of the SME support institutions have been streamlined and defined according to the development stage of the enterprise, from its pre-startup by spreading the entrepreneurship culture across the education system, to its growth stage by providing training facilities to improve its productivity. Moreover, the Ministry of Industry and Trade has drafted a microfinance law that has been approved by the Cabinet and is about to be issued by presidential decree, hopefully in the coming days. The ministry, with the help of the Federation of Industries, is also currently establishing specialized clusters for SMEs in all industrial zones in Egypt, with a view to create and strengthen forward and backward linkages between them and large industries. The first such cluster is being established in Mergem, next to the petrochemical complex in Alexandria for plastics production. A second one will be established in Midram and will allow to move small informal production facilities specialized in the production of aluminum utensils into a former cluster where infrastructure and services will be shared among producers. On the other hand, the Industrial Modernization Center is extremely active, giving technical and marketing support to traditional artisanal industries and handicrafts, especially those concentrated in small villages, as the development of those SMEs will have a positive impact on regional development, while the Industrial Training Center is partnering with the private sector companies to train young graduates and provide them with job opportunities. As a matter of fact, it has provided several tens of thousands of job opportunities for young university and graduates in Egypt. It will continue doing so to increase the skills of the SMEs and encourage them to innovate. Despite the turbulent years since 2011, the Social Development Fund continued to operate and played the major role in financing SMEs. It provided some 6.5 billion Egyptian pounds to finance SMEs projects between 2011 and 2013. And it is expected, however, to be able in the very near future to increase its sources of financing and consequently to increase its ability to financially support SMEs. Finally, the ministry has presented to the cabinet a law that will give some preferential treatment to SMEs and facilitate their participation in public tenders and public procurement. The ministry is also studying proposing a law to attract informal enterprises into the official economy by giving them incentives such as facilitating registration, licensing procedures, and access to finance, giving technical and marketing support, offering training programs and other incentives. In fact, we look forward to the help and advice of OECD in this regard, as it has accumulated through the years a wealth of international experience. No less important than the proposed laws, the Ministry of Industry and Trade has revived the IRADA initiative to review and amend the executive regulations and procedures pertaining to laws to improve the regulatory framework of doing business in Egypt. In fact, those executive regulations and those procedures are more often than not the reason and the cause for what we commonly call the Egyptian bureaucracy. Ladies and gentlemen, we know we still have a very long way to go in order to reach the goals set for SMEs. And this is precisely why we are extremely interested to listen to the OECD's reports and to closely look into its recommendation and advice. Let me reiterate once more my thanks and appreciation to the EU and the OECD. Thank you, Ambassador Mوران. Thank you, Ms. Nicolas. for your continuous support and advice, and thank you all for being here this morning.